Hey guys, welcome back to the Girlfriends and Goals podcast. It's been a minute, but we're back. My name is Samaria, and I'm joined by my best friend and co host.
Miosha.
And today we are reviewing Love is Blind UK season 2, and we'll do episodes 1 through 4.
Hmm.
So if you're interested in this season, if you're watching or if you're not watching, but you'll be watching our commentary, make sure you give this video a thumbs up and comment down below. Let us know your thoughts, whether you agree or disagree with us. We'd love to hear it. All right. And
Hmm.
did I say subscribe already? I don't know if I did.
They
I'm a little
should.
rusty. It's been a minute. But yes, please subscribe, like, and
Mhm.
comment. All
Yep.
right. So already I do want to say this is a better season than Minneapolis.
Oh, yeah. And it's moving a lot faster. I feel like with the US, we get burnt out so quickly. One, the amount of episodes that drops, 6 or 7 episodes in one go, that's way too much. And then the amount of random people that we see and their
Yeah.
storylines lead nowhere. I mean, I get that you don't want to give away too much too soon, but it's so many people that I was telling Samari before we started, it's hard to keep up with who's who and put the name with the face, and we could be 5 episodes in. So
Absolutely. Yeah. Get us to the couple sooner. So, with that being
yeah.
said, let's start with Ashley and
Hmm.
Billy. So, Ashley is 30. She's a cabin crew member. And then Billy is
Hmm.
35. He's an Army physical trainer. So, yeah, what are some of your initial thoughts on these two while I pull up their pictures?
Yeah, so my initial thought on Ashley is, all right, there she is on screen, is she's a flight attendant. And so my first thought was she's been doing it, I think she said for 11 or 12 years. So she said she's ready potentially for a lifestyle change and for a family and all those things. And my thought is, I don't know, that could seem risky to someone. Even before she got connected with Billy, I was like, I don't know, like you're always gone. So what would that look like? And specifically, she said that she does long haul flights. So this isn't something where she's probably coming home at least a couple days in a row. That was my first thought on Ashley.
Okay, fair. And there were a few times where she said that it suits her life or that she enjoys
Hmm.
it at this point. And so I always thought it would be something that would need to be a conversation and that she would
Mm.
need to figure out. But I'll share more thoughts on that as we go through the episode.
Yeah, and it would be a huge change in lifestyle, always being gone versus
Hmm.
being at home. I don't know. I feel like a lot of people went through a big transition like that. Like, say you were in sales before the pandemic and then you're
Hmm.
just home now. So, I don't know. That would
Hmm.
be a big change being at home at
Very.
all the time. And then I wrote her connection with Billy felt light. They seem to have a few things in common as far as the background in the army. He said he's an army physical trainer. And I don't know if you mentioned his age, but he's 35.
Hmm.
Okay. And yeah, he said that he was previously married and he fell out of love. What did you think of that?
Okay, I'm glad you asked because yes, I had thoughts about this. To me, to say, oh, we just fell out of love and you were passing ships, it felt to me like maybe he needs to do a lot more reflection on what really ended the relationship because you can be two people who, maybe you have to be in town these few days and the person has to be out of town or whatever, but there are
Hmm.
marriages that work through that. And so
Hmm.
I don't know if there was not intentionality in the relationship, like maybe at a certain point neither of them wanted to try anymore for the other person or whatever. I just wish he would have said more. And I wanted her to dig deeper because after entering an entire marriage, like getting to the end of it and saying, oh, we just fell out of love. Like, love is important in marriage, but also
Hmm.
there's like logistics involved. And so for
Hmm.
me, it's like, maybe it's not just love, maybe there's also logistics. So if this were me, that's what I would have asked.
Yeah, we need more information. I also thought too, he mentioned that he was previously married 5 years ago, so that puts him at age 30, getting a divorce. So I would have asked, like, okay, well, did you get married young? This person I think was also maybe in the army. So, you know, at least in the US, you see a lot of young marriages in the military. So I would have pressed for more of, as you said, like logistics, but maybe in a different way of, okay, well, when did you get together? Was it just age or I don't know. So,
Yeah. He describes himself as being a romantic, and he says that he was born in the wrong time. Uh,
mhm,
so because of that and because of his divorce, he says that when he gets married again, it has to work. Like he's determined to make sure it works. He wants to be so in love. He wants to find that again. This again made me feel like this is a little shallow. Like it surprised me that someone who's been married before is so focused on like marriage being about love. And again, I think it is a huge part
mhm.
of it, but it's like love, compatibility, like there's so much more. So
And you said you fell out of love the first time. So I
I
don't know. I'm shocked in that you would choose to come on this show. Like, first, if you're adamant about I really don't want to get a divorce again, then
Mhm.
in my mind, you wouldn't go through Love is Blind as the process to
I
find.
just wonder what his idea of marriage is because it seems very fairy tale. And not just him, there were a few people on this show who
Mhm.
said stuff like, "Oh yeah, I just want to be infatuated. I just want to be crazy about the
Ignited.
person."
Like,
Like,
okay,
are we talking about the same marriage?
over a lifetime?
Like infatuation, really? Are we in middle school?
I want to feel that fire. And I don't want to downplay maybe those
Right.
initial feelings, but I think clearly you experience that in a traditional dating situation and then you
Yeah.
get to the nitty-gritty.
Hmm.
The
Hmm.
purpose of this process is that you're probably kind of skipping some of that and jumping into the nitty-gritty. So I don't know.
Okay, good point. Yeah, like yes, have the butterflies, but also use your head. That's all I'm saying. They're
Well,
both needed.
we hope.
Yeah.
We hope.
Okay. So later on, when they talk, like they talked about tattoos and they talked about the importance of intimacy. Here's
Hmm.
another moment where he's like, "Yeah, I just want to be with you and want to rip your clothes off." I'm like, "Okay, cool. That's what you're interested in."
Not
But
only that, he said he claims he's ready to get the name tatted.
yeah,
Why now versus the marriage you were in before? I don't know.
I thought he got the tattoo after the marriage before,
Yeah,
and
maybe,
so now
but
he's ready to fill in the blank.
yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know.
And
Yeah,
it wasn't like a dislike of either of them. There were
no.
just some things that made me think, oh, okay, like, is there longevity here? So I think
I
that was the major concern.
I will say, I think it was in their second date or the second day, I can't remember, where I think she gave him assurance, like, oh, on the whole remote or being a fight attendant, oh, yes, I'm willing to change. I know, obviously, I would need to be at home. But then in their third date, he says, oh, I want to dig deeper and talk, more about what that would look like because there
Yes.
was clearly some hesitation. He said he's dated cabin crew before and it didn't work. And so she gave him reassurance again, and it was what he needed to hear, I guess.
What did you think about that? Both him saying I've dated cabin crew before and it didn't work, and almost projecting that experience
Hmm.
on their new relationship, as in like, okay, if it didn't work with this cabin crew, it won't work with you. So what did you think about that? And then what did you think about her reassuring him? Was that episode one? Yeah, it was.
Hmm.
But yeah,
It
what did you
was.
think about her reassurance?
So the reassurance sounds exactly like what she said, in my opinion, the first time. I didn't pick up on
Mm,
anything different. As far as
okay.
him projecting, I wanted to know, okay, you dated cabin crew and it didn't work because they were never home, or they didn't, was it that they didn't want to make the big lifestyle change and find a new career choice? So
Yeah.
I it maybe I filled in the blanks for him in my mind of saying, oh, he's nervous because he's dated someone who's been on the road before. and maybe he felt alone and by himself, but that's just me filling in the blanks. So,
Yeah, I think he was justified in saying, okay, this is a concern, and I appreciated that he brought that up with her, like before
hmm
just saying, okay, this isn't gonna work. So he was hesitant, but he didn't shut things down because he was hesitant. So I appreciated that, and just giving her an opportunity to say, oh, well, this is either going to be my life, so you have to get used to it or get
hmm
gone, or giving her a chance to compromise. I think if I were her, just because she says, like, there's opportunity for me to be on the ground with my job, I think I would maybe before having like children, just be with
hmm
him for some time to see
hmm
if this is the person, just considering how they've met, if this is the person you want to be with to make that life change. Like I would hate for her to change to being on ground and then have kids quickly and then feel like, okay, I'm a little bit stuck or I can't leave as quickly. But if you're just married to the person, you're seeing how the relationship is going, if there are no red flags and you feel like, okay, yeah, I'm ready to make that sacrifice now, I would just, if I were her, move a little bit with caution.
I will say earlier on, she mentioned that one of the challenges for her dating was being cabin crew. So she was saying that it had been hard to maintain and sustain relationships. So, no, I definitely understand because that would be a big change for her. At the same time, I think it sounds as though even she knows maybe in order to progress her life in that area,
Mhm.
it may be easier if she is,
On the
in yeah, on the ground in one place.
Yeah. And I think I
So,
jumped ahead a little bit because at the end of episode one,
mhm.
he said that he felt nervous, but they hadn't had the conversation. So
Yeah.
we jumped a little bit, but okay. So that's pretty much it for them for episode one. Was there anything that we missed that you'd want to include
Mm.
or?
Just that she expressed that, because of her childhood and having to take on a lot of responsibilities, how she's always looked out for her family and she's just looking for someone who'd be willing to look out for her and take care of her. And he said that he would be willing to do it. So,
Yeah, they did bond on family and their love for the family. They both have dogs. They both are in the Army
mhm.
Cadets. So there are definitely some connections here.
They like
Between the
country
two of them.
music, I
Yeah.
guess.
Okay. So the next two people that I have are Kieran and Sophie. So Kieran is
hmm
28. He's a gaming entrepreneur, and
hmm
Sophie is also 28. She's a senior commercial manager. What are your initial thoughts about each of them individually while I pull up their pictures?
On Kieran, I didn't have too much. He said that he was in a 7-year relationship, but was never in love with her, has never had a deep emotional connection. But then when I did the math, if he's 28, maybe he got with this person when he was 20. And
Okay.
so maybe that was just young love that lasted for a long time. But maybe we put a pin in it and say, like, you know, could he potentially be the person who would just be with someone for a long time and not love them? To me, that's a long time to be with someone and be like, oh, I never loved them or was in love.
Mhm.
For Sophie, she said she's still single because she treats all her dates like they're an interview. And I said, yes, she's kind of intense. And she seems like she's a woman who knows what she wants and isn't going to settle,
Hmm.
guarded. Uh,
That's what you were getting. Okay.
yeah, never been in love, but wants to be obsessed with whoever her person is. So,
There goes that obsession again. Sophie's first impression for me was interesting because it was how she interacted with another one of the ladies.
mm,
So she was like, "Oh, should I wear my I think she said fringe, so I guess that's the UK word for bangs.
mhm,
But she was like, should I wear it like this or like this?"
mhm,
And the lady said, "Oh, whatever like whatever makes you feel good." And she goes, "But I'm asking your opinion. I hate when people do that." And for me, that was a little intense. Yeah, I was like, okay, she doesn't have an opinion on your bangs. Like, I felt like the editors knew what they were doing, making that our first impression of her. And so I'm
Mm,
like, they're either trying to paint her as difficult or maybe she's just genuinely difficult. But I thought putting that as the first scene with her and anybody was
mhm.
a choice.
And there was a lot of follow-up footage to support it.
Absolutely. So I don't know if they set her up for the okie doke, but it was just
Mm,
interesting. And I noticed that right off bat.
yeah.
The thing about her saying, yeah, I treat first dates like interviews, I was hoping that during this process, maybe she'll learn relationships aren't just what works for you. Like
Mm,
they're not transactional, and so
mhm.
you can't start off transactional with someone and then be like, okay, now I'm ready to flip the switch. It's also learning what works for the other person and considering if you even want to give that to them. Like,
I also thought that the things she was saying
mm,
sounded like a person who, okay, is interested in finding love,
mhm,
but her actions to me didn't line up. I
mm.
was almost kind of like, girl, do you really want to be here?
She said, I know I'm single because of myself. I said, okay, at least you're self-aware.
But she initially says that she has a strong connection with Kieran.
Okay.
And so I'm like, okay. Did you have any thoughts on Kieran?
I not initially, honestly. The
Mm,
only thoughts that I started with like Kieran was the whole 7 year relationship. It ended a year ago. And I was like, okay,
mm,
please say more. Like I wanted to hear more about the 7 year relationship because because it just ended a year ago, And I know for some people that's a lot of time, but I guess if there was really no deep emotional connection, then that's okay. But I would need to hear, okay, like you said, what made you stay that long if there wasn't a deep emotional connection? What things
mhm.
led to it finally ending? I would need to know more.
So when you said you wanted to hear more
Hmm.
when he was describing his previous relationship, I actually wrote a note about a few of the women.
Hmm.
Is that I don't know, I kind of, and maybe I'm biased. When it comes to the women, I don't want to know more if you got dogged out in your previous relationships. Meaning, if you were with someone who cheated on you, abused you, treated really bad, I don't think I would communicate that in the
Well,
first.
you or an old one. I might take that with me.
You you may not be able to get it out of me to if it were that situation with time, yes. I
Hmm.
just don't know that. Like I think it was Katisha and I'm jumping ahead,
Hmm.
but oh yeah, I got cheated on for years and da da da. No, say less.
I think I wrote a note similar to that as well.
Yeah, but that's
But
beside the point.
But she doesn't ask, Sophie doesn't
Yeah.
ask any follow-up questions. She just says, "Oh, I had a 5 year relationship." So it seemed like that's
Hmm.
something that they connected on. They both said they
Hmm.
want to be obsessed with their person and they want to look forward to coming home instead of dreading it. And so, yeah, I felt like okay, there's a lot of grounds between obsession and not dreading coming home. Like you don't have to be obsessed with your person to not dread it, to look forward to
Yeah.
seeing them when you get.
Or you could just enjoy their company.
I just I just want more balance. I think I think it is very and maybe the time in the pods is the time for this, but it's just very fairy tale
Mhm.
dreamy, Cinderella, whatever.
Yeah.
Okay. So she asked for his red flags. You don't
Mm.
hear his answer, but he throws the question back. So I wasn't sure if that was edited out
Mhm.
or if he didn't answer. But she said, well, I don't know that I have a lot of red flags. I'm very well rounded. One thing about Sophie, she has self esteem.
Hmm.
Okay. She's going to talk
No,
herself up, as she should, as anybody
yeah.
should. But she says she's well rounded, but her fault is maybe that she doesn't let people in. She's not vulnerable easily, and that's
Mhm.
why she's here because the process kind of requires it from you.
But I think it only works if you actually
To
participate.
mhm,
And
mhm,
so I don't tell me if I'm skipping too far ahead, but in their second date, um, he came in asking, well, like, how can I give you butterflies?
Yeah.
And she just says, oh, well, with passion. And he's like, well, tell me a little bit more. And she's like,
Hmm.
well, just kiss me. And well, no, she said, well, why? Or like, why do you need to know? And just kiss me and everything will go from there. It, it's like
She's,
we're very simple things. Her walls are way up. And I wrote, this is kind of exhausting because you just met this man.
yeah. And he pointed that out. He said it kind of felt like, okay, shut up, Kieran, you'll be fine. Because she said, if that's what you're concerned about, trust me, you're good, we're good. What else do you need to know? So it was a bit dismissive. And so, but
Mhm.
at this point, he's really liking her.
He is, and I think he's trying to give her more time and
Hmm.
opportunity to see if she'll open up.
Yeah.
But then something she said next was like, "Oh, well, if you get on one knee, then you'll know more." And I wrote, "Is that realistic that you would progress all the way to a proposal and then you start to release more about yourself?" And so that's where we start to see where I think she has this mindset of if I keep all my walls up, if I don't put too much effort, if they don't really get to know me, if I'm rejected, then I'm kind of protected because they didn't really know me anyways. Why would you want someone to ask you to marry them if they don't know you? That sounds crazy.
It does sound crazy. I felt for her because I'm like, she clearly has some issues that she needs to work through. And maybe that's what her Love is Blind journey needs to be, that this process brings those issues to light for her. But
Mm,
I
I can
already
respect
was like, yeah, I don't think this is gonna go very far. Either they're gonna end up together and it's not going to work or they're just not even going to get there. And
that.
so
Yeah.
I was happy to see Kieran's other connection, which is Megan, who is also 28. So they're all the same
Hmm.
age. She is a dancer and fitness instructor. And I'll pull up her
Hmm.
picture, even though this is an awful picture of her that they had
Hmm.
on the Love is Blind
Ooh.
Instagram. Look at that. She is way cuter than this.
Oh yeah, she's really pretty. I love her red hair, by the way.
I'm like, what is this
Really.
picture? False,
Yeah.
fake news.
But yeah, she's a fitness instructor. She says she's had a lot of short-term relationships because she travels so much for work.
Yeah.
Um, I like her. She has light, fun energy.
Mhm.
And once I saw her dates in juxtaposition to Sophie and Kieran, it just felt so much lighter and so much more fun and open. Uh, and I wrote like, Sophie girl, if you want a chance with this man, you're gonna have to open up, even though it's not a competition, but I from the beginning I
For her
could kind of
own.
see like, oh yeah, he's not gonna be able to even get in the door or open the door for you. So kind of not by default, but Megan being so open has made the process easier. So yeah.
I will say she mentioned in addition to her short-term relationships that she travels a lot and that is the reason why she hasn't been able to maintain relationships. And I just noted that that could be concerning for someone like him who seemed
Hmm.
to really want to settle down. I almost feel like maybe Kieran realized his life was better with a woman. So like 1 year after his long relationship, he's like, well, let me find another woman to you
Hmm.
know, to lock down because that might improve just like my quality of life. Maybe I mean we're built for partnership or we're built for community, I should say.
And he's
So
28. So,
yeah.
and he's 28, like he's coming up on 30. It could take some time. And they say like those big decade transitions, you
Mhm.
start to do a lot of reflecting and maybe feel that sense of urgency to take action. So,
Mm.
yeah.
I don't know why I wrote this down for Megan, but it's
Mhm.
what I was thinking at the time. So I think she said she had been single for 1.5 years and she wants to be married. And my first thought was, I don't know that I want this show for her. Like I almost want her to sustain a relationship for some time before committing to a marriage. And I
Mm.
think it might have been because she's only had short-term relationships. So just
Mm.
like, okay, maybe see how it goes a little bit longer term before you make this commitment.
I think once again, the challenge though is probably being on the road or traveling. And I think not everyone is open to long distance, because there's a lot that comes with that, I think. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that's all that I had on them. But by their second date, I said she seems to be his second choice. he asked her the same question, how can I give you butterflies? And they had
Hmm.
a very fun and flirty
Hmm.
conversation based off of that. She was definitely more open
Yeah,
his
I
last
wrote.
date. So I was
Yeah.
surprised that she was his second choice at this point.
Mm.
Yeah.
I wrote that I think they seem to have a lot of chemistry even through the wall. Like I can
Hmm.
already sense that it's there. And because we know what they look like, I was thinking like, oh, if they progress, I could see them also being attracted to each other.
Okay.
Um,
All
yeah.
right. So,
Also, really
mhm.
quick, at this point, Megan is talking to, I think it was Anu in the women's quarters, and Sophie overhears that she also has a connection with Kieran, and she clearly isn't thrilled about it, but it's a part of the process. But you see with
Save
the
it for later. That comes up.
yeah, but it was
Okay.
at this point where she overhears like, oh, he has someone else. So,
Okay. So now we have Patrick, 33, who's a human design coach, and Anu,
hmm.
29, who is a singer. First impressions from you.
Patrick is different.
Okay, this is Patrick.
Patrick is different. He says he's very spiritual, not a typical London boy, and he loves and follows his spleen. That's
First of all, he's a human design coach. So I don't know if you're familiar with human design. I'm not
Mhm.
super familiar
I've
with
heard of
it,
it.
but I
Yeah.
just recently learned about it, and I was like, is that a making career right now? Because I don't know that that's enough to sustain someone, but if you're more familiar with that area, just let me know. So that was something that
Well,
concerned me.
I'm not, but he said, "Oh, I'm a human design coach and a life coach." So I was like, "Oh, okay, maybe partly a life coaching business, or he works for a clinic. I'm not sure, but all I said was, "Oh, that's interesting that he's in that space and that he would choose to go through this process." So I don't know.
Okay.
Because
Yeah.
I
And
was,
he said,
from what I
he's kind of
thought, I was gonna say I don't like they follow like the zodiac signs and certain things. Like I don't know. From what I've heard, I was just surprised that he would choose Love Is Blind to find
oh,
his partner.
okay.
So yeah.
Yeah. I immediately thought this wasn't a good match, like from the
Oh yeah.
first episode. I thought
The
it
first
was a terrible.
interaction.
I thought it was a terrible match. I was surprised that it kept going because, okay, so he said he's done everything he wanted. He wants someone to blow his mind, which is a common theme again. And I said, that's a lot of responsibility to put on someone else. Like, oh, you're going to blow my mind. But Anu, I think, is definitely there to find her person. And she was asking the right questions. Here's the thing, when you ask the right questions, it really matters what you do with the answers because they're talking, they're vibing. She asks him, where does Christianity fit into your life? He doesn't
Mm,
really answer. He just says, oh, I grew up in a Christian household. That was a priority then, but it doesn't fit into his life right now. It just doesn't, right? And so
mm,
if it's something that is a priority to you and it's not a priority to him, and if you want your partner, which she didn't say this, but I just the fact that she asked that question led me to believe it was something that she was seeking. It was this question and another question in a later episode where it
mhm,
seemed like she would have wanted someone on that similar path, which is
mhm.
more religious than spiritual, which is what he is.
Yeah, I agree. But in this, in this first episode, they bond over similar African culture experiences, and he says he loves her energy. I think I enjoyed watching their dates until things got awkward.
It was this was what dating looks like. Like, you date
Yeah.
people, you vibing, and then at a certain point, it might not progress. But he gave her such a a sweet and very Patrick compliment. He said, Anu, wow, she's very abundant. I
Hmm.
was like, Patrick, I rock with that compliment.
But then at the same time, so even though they were having this nice back and forth,
Hmm.
I still really wasn't seeing what is the connection here.
Just vibes. It was
Vibes only.
it was vibes. That was it.
Okay.
and being Nigerian.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay.
So this is the last couple, but Sarver
Sarover.
and
Mhm.
Cal. So Sarver is a 29-year-old med company owner, and Cal is a
Mhm.
32-year-old gym owner. So she said, actually, you'll do your
Yeah.
initial because I have to
Yeah.
pull up the pictures.
Yeah. So, she said that she's typically gone for the same type of Indian man in the past. She says that she's, career driven and oriented, but wants a family and wants time to enjoy her children. Um, I'm gonna jump to Cal really quick.
Okay.
Um, because for her, I don't remember her saying anything about her previous relationships other than she's dated the same type of men. Do you remember?
I no, but that stuck out to me because she seemed to be open in this experiment. I always am
Okay.
concerned about this type of experiment being the first time you're open to deviating. Like, I don't know that that's super fair to the person on the other side. So,
Okay.
yeah, that's what
So,
I
all
thought.
right. So we're on the same page. I didn't hear much about her previous dating history. And then Cal, a 32-year-old gym owner, he's been single for a year, which I'm going to throw this in here, even though it comes up later.
Mhm.
That last relationship sounded long distance and that she was in Dubai.
Oh,
He
I
says
thought
that,
he was in Dubai too.
or was he in
For a
Dubai?
little bit, for a
For a
little
little
bit.
bit.
Yeah.
Okay. And he knows what he wants, doesn't want to waste any time moving forward. He wants his next relationship to be his wife. And I said that at least at this point, they seem to be aligned in a lot of different ways. And yeah, I don't think at this point I knew his background just yet.
No, we didn't. So
And
I
I was going to say we didn't know kind of who he typically dated
mhm.
either at this point.
I liked Sarah because I thought she was very decisive. Like there was a date that she was in with somebody, and right afterwards she goes, "Yeah, that's not my husband." Because I think he said, "Yeah, sometimes I don't get home until this time,"
Hmm.
and she was like, "That's my bedtime." And then there was
Hmm.
something also with him and wanting a traditional relationship, and she didn't seem very aligned with that. So I respected that she was very decisive. I like her and Cal. They're both business owners. They seem to have a good conversation flow. They were friendly, but they were talking about serious things. So
Hmm.
I appreciated that. Uh, I don't know, I think he seemed to have learned quite a bit from his previous relationship. And
Hmm.
so I liked them. Both driven, both want to prioritize family. I said I think they should speak about expectations for their future life because she talked about wanting to pull back so that she could be present, but
Mhm.
she didn't say I'm pulling back all the way so that my career stops. And so um, I think they have similar outlooks. They just need to discuss.
What does that
They
look
just
like?
need to discuss what it looks like.
Oh, yeah, because he said like, "Oh, I want to be a protector and provider," but he says he also sees value in having, a spouse who's accomplished and wants to go after their goals. And he also said that, he doesn't mind cooking, cleaning, taking care of the home as well. So I was like, "Oh, that it sounds like they are compatible, but the specifics of it, especially since they're both business owners." So, what does that look like?
And of course, we know you could talk about the specifics till you're blue in the face. Once you're actually there, there's going to be conflict. There's going to be stuff to work around, but
Mhm.
at least it's worth having a conversation. In their
Mhm.
next date, they talked about how they felt about change. And, she said, I freak out with change. He related to it, said, I used to be that way, but I've learned to move past that and maybe I could calm you down. He shared about
Mhm.
his brothers and their struggles and how that
Mhm.
impacted him. And yeah, I just thought, oh, such a wholesome couple.
Yeah, I think she appreciates how open he is.
Hmm. I would
Yep.
too. So their third date was when they talked about their childhoods. And this is
Mhm.
where we start to find out backgrounds a bit, which is
Yes.
always very prevalent in Love is Blind UK. People are going to talk about their backgrounds. So you're going to know if
Listen,
you're talking to a black person, you're going to know.
I know very quickly, and it's ethnicity
Mhm.
based. They're like, "Oh, I'm Jamaican, I'm this, I'm that." So, Yeah.
Very
So he's
nationality, yeah.
uh half Pakistani and she's Indian.
Hmm.
And I wrote, girl, and you does your family know that you're coming out here to date any and everybody? Like,
Yeah.
I said, oh boy, Cal, are you up for this? One, I hope her family's cool. And two, I hope he's up for it.
Yeah, yeah. So they were my favorite couple so far, and then but there were major concerns. So I said I wonder how it'll go. I did love that uh they talked about the whole Christmas thing, and she shared about her parents' divorce. They both come from divorced families, but
Mm-hmm.
when she was feeling down about how Christmases go now, he said, "Well, you have your own family to look forward to."
Mm-hmm.
And I like that. I like that reassurance, that comfort that he
Mm-hmm.
offered. And I felt like between them, there was a great balance of talking about self and listening to hear from the other
Mm-hmm.
person about, their life
Mm-hmm.
and their self. So
I'd agree.
that concludes episode one. Let's move on to episode two. This will go a little faster because we're not showing
Yeah.
pictures again and we're
Yeah.
just talking through the major things that happened. Let's
Mm-hmm.
start with Billy and Ashley again, episode two. So
Mm-hmm.
this, they start this one with talking about the cab crew thing. We've already shared our thoughts
Mm-hmm.
about that.
I wrote, I feel like in this episode he cried. I think when he started talking about his dad.
No, that was one.
That was in episode one?
Yeah,
Where she what I thought it was two where she gives him the cowboy hat, the cowgirl hat. He gives her the thimble, the
that was
little
episode two, but I think the crying was episode one.
Oh, okay. So then he cried again in episode two then. Yeah. And I wrote like he's clearly very comfortable with
Hmm.
showing his emotion and she seemed to I guess not be freaked out by it
Hmm.
at this point. What are your thoughts?
I think that's fine for me with the cowboy date specifically. I almost wish he was the one planning the date, but it was a cute idea. That's just my own maybe bias, but
Mm,
I do appreciate that she was forward about saying that she was really into him. I just almost wish he would have been just as vocal or initiated those types of conversations because at this point I was like, okay, is he feeling the same way as she is? Like, is she doing too much too fast? I don't know. It felt,
I think at this point he was still navigating the whole cabin crew thing and
okay.
if he would even want to give it a try.
Yeah. So
Even though she had reassured him. Again, I felt like he was still like, I don't know.
yeah. And so a part of me, of course, as a viewer was like, oh, I don't know if he's all the way in with you yet, girl. Like,
Mm-mm.
but she said, if is there anything that you would want to tell me at this point? And he said, well, I guess I would want to say that I love you. And then she said, I love you too. I'm like, does that
Yeah.
count as him saying he loves her? Or
And I don't know. Who am I to tell people when they should tell another person they love them? But I just felt like that was very quick. I
hmm.
don't know. It
But we don't
feels
know how many days it could have been.
mm,
It was still early because other people were dating for some time after.
yeah, it felt quick because he said I love you and then then he later proposes. So I don't know. To me, that was quick.
I like Ashley. I just at this point wasn't completely convinced about Billy, but I loved her outfit when she got proposed to. I thought that was so cute with the blue
Hmm.
top and then the blue lipstick thing.
Hmm.
Like, yeah, that was a good proposal outfit. Nothing too notable about their reveal. Like they seem to like the other person's
Yeah,
look. So,
pretty touchy. I
yeah.
think they have pretty good chemistry.
Yeah, and
At this
attraction.
at this point, I'm fine with them as a couple, but there's something about Billy. I don't know what it is. I hope he's on the up and up, but there's something about Billy. I don't know. Yeah,
Well, we shall see.
we shall see.
We
I
shall
hope I'm wrong.
Yeah. There wasn't too much on these two during this episode, so let's talk about Kat and Sarover. I'm sorry,
Cal.
Cal and I said Kat. Cal and Sarover. So they start this one by addressing the elephant in the room about him being
Hmm.
half Pakistani and her being Indian. And I was like, yes, get straight to it. Get straight
Hmm.
to it. Uh, yeah.
She says, "Oh, my parents are fine. They're totally for me going after what I want and
Mhm.
paving my own way. They're very open. They're very cool." I said, "I hope so."
I hope so. What wanted to give me encouragement was that she said there are mixed marriages in her family.
Family already,
And
yeah.
so I was like, okay, good, because it is hard when you're the first person to be like
Hmm.
undoing some cultural conflict and it can be tough and I wouldn't want that for Cal. But if there are other mixed marriages in the family, maybe at least she's not the guinea pig.
What's the makeup of the mixed marriages?
That's what I want to know. It didn't seem like there were many of them, but I felt a little better that she wouldn't be the absolute first. I just still think it's gonna come with some
Hmm.
work. Yeah.
Yeah. I think she's open to it.
She
And
is, but it's a family that I
oh
don't,
yeah.
yeah. But I was glad that she was not as concerned about it, and willing to move forward despite that. So,
I will say if you're the first, if this is the first time you've ever attempted to bring someone different home, I
it's,
think yeah, you may be in a place of being like optimistic because you don't know
all
like you
the
don't know
bridges
how
that
bad it could
waits.
be because you've never done it.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So, and I don't know, sometimes parents are like, do what you want, because they don't want to seem controlling, and then you do it.
These are facts.
You're like, I thought you were cool with it. I ain't actually mean go do it.
Like I'm cool with other people doing it in
The
their city,
idea.
but I ain't say you do it.
Dude. Because
Yeah,
they're probably thinking, there's how many Indian people on this planet? You couldn't find one?
that is funny. But yeah, I mean, this was the episode that he proposes. She says yes,
Mhm.
and that's all that I have on them. Uh,
Yep.
but then
That's
we
all.
move into new people, which I was like, yes, okay, introduce us to new people. I love
Hmm.
this. So we meet Katisha, who is 31 and a nanny, and her
Hmm.
first person is Javen.
Javen. Yeah.
Okay. Well, yeah, I'll let you tell me your first impressions of each of them while I pull up their picture.
Hmm. So Javen, and I hope I'm pronouncing his name right.
I think
Y'all
it
can
was
correct.
Javen. It wasn't
Okay.
Javin.
Yeah, that would be the
Okay.
American way of saying it.
Yeah.
But yeah, he himself says that he's a charmer. He's very competitive. Okay, come in with the confidence. And I said, okay, he looks nice. And Katisha, we have her on the screen. I get a very warm energy from her. Like when she said she was a nanny, I was like, oh, okay, I see it. Like I get warm teacher energy vibes from her, very calming. Um, and yeah, hmm?
Sorry, I was gonna say my first impressions of them, but go ahead.
Okay, no, you can go.
Okay, so Javen also mentioned that he had never had a serious relationship. And then when he said, I'm a charmer, so I don't find it difficult to date multiple women. I said, get this man off my screen. Why was he cat? Get him out of here. I don't want it. I did not sign up for this. Love is Blind UK. Tell him to apply for Love is Blind US where they're unserious. But we want the UK to stay as serious as it always has been. I mean, I only have 2 seasons, but no, he gave I'm here to play.
I gave well, I felt like he's really feeling himself. Like, and I also thought if you have that type of energy out in the London, UK streets, wherever you are, why are you here?
I it hmm. The way that he spoke made me feel like women are still an object to him, you know? So he was like, I'm competitive, so insinuating like in this game, in the
Again.
pods, he'd be competitive. But even his reasoning for wanting to get married, and I understand we can joke, and you can be playful,
Mm,
but there's a fine line. This is a show about marriage. And
mm,
so his reason was a bit shallow to me. Oh, men who are married live longer than men who aren't married. So, I want to live long. I'm not ever going to tell anybody that their reason for getting into marriage shouldn't be self-centered. Like, I
mm.
think if you're going to say, oh, I want to be married, it should in some way benefit you, in a lot of ways benefit you. But just the way he presented it was overly
I, th-
shallow.
I think it's safe to say she hated his first impression.
Just wasn't, and I wouldn't say hate it. I was just like, okay, we're unserious. Got it.
And I, from this point, I'm like, oh, girl, don't make a connection with this man. But I already knew she was.
You already knew that's why they spent so much time on him. So she
Mhm.
says she's been single for 6 years and she's ready. She said the breakup was traumatic. There was unfaithfulness, which, like you said, I don't know that that would be my first thing that I would say to a new person. Uh, she also mentioned she was the
Mm-hmm.
oldest of seven, and he
Mm-hmm.
said he's the youngest of five.
Mm-hmm.
If we're just going on stereotypes, I don't like that dynamic. Like the oldest of seven, you think, oh, you know how they say like first daughters assume a lot of responsibility.
Mm-hmm.
They're the CEOs of the family, they're running things. And then if you're the last child in an immigrant family,
Typically.
Caribbean, yeah, like you're the youngest boy, maybe you didn't have as much responsibility. So already it was giving this is going to turn into a parent child dynamic at some point in my
Mm.
head. The
Okay,
oldest
so
of seven, can you imagine how much pressure is on you as the oldest of seven children and you're a daughter in an immigrant
so
family?
be I didn't get parent child only because of his energy.
I didn't get that, but I think there's potential for it.
Oh, okay, potential. Okay. Okay. Yeah. Because of his personality, I initially got, oh, he's going to be running her.
Interesting.
Yeah, she's going to be chasing him. He's going to be running things.
Yeah. I meant
Mm.
to look this up before we started, but I did not. So forgive my ignorance, but who is Mr. Darcy? Because
Oh, yeah, she mentioned
if
that.
you know who Mr. Darcy is, please let us know in the comments. She was like,
Yeah.
"Yeah, my Mr. Darcy, I want my Mr. Darcy." Like,
Mm.
okay.
Maybe
It
it's
must
from
be
a
a
show.
UK show like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you watch Grey's Anatomy, but like McDreamy,
Yeah.
it might be that type of vibe, but y'all let us know. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So they talk about having extended family in Jamaica. Her
Mm-hmm.
mom is Jamaican and Spanish, but she doesn't know her Jamaican side. He's like, I can help you explore that. Then he starts to ask about sexual chemistry.
Yeah, he, wants to know, how important is it to you? She says, I would put it behind emotional compatibility and emotional intimacy. He says he would rank them equal and then follows up to want to know, well, the details of how many times and da 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 da. And she seemed to be open to it. At this point, though, from what we saw of them, I'm like, how are we already here? Because I felt like I didn't see a whole lot that would give me that they were having that good of an emotional or like lifestyle connection to jump to that already. But she didn't seem to be put off by it.
No, she because he's her usual type, as she said. So maybe it's just something
Mhm.
she's familiar with. Which, okay, after 6 years of being single, maybe don't do the same thing you did 6 years ago. I don't say that to rag on her. I think we're humans and we're all living and learning, but I just wish she I don't know what she learned in the last 6 years, but it's one thing in theory and there's another thing in practice, and her practice isn't showing growth.
And when she said her usual type, I wanted to know more. Like, what is your usual type? Because up until this point, I wasn't getting that he was giving very much, even in, I don't
Mm,
know, talking about how they would align and the connection. I think in this episode, she was saying how she still really didn't even know where he stood or that he felt it was a strong connection. So, okay, this is your usual type. The man who's playing hard to get.
yeah. Which it's a good transition. So she also makes a connection with Damola, who is the same age as she is. Because remember, what's his name? Javen is
20.
28.
Mm-hmm.
Damola is 31, and they have a connection
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah, he's a financial analyst. He's
Analyst.
Nigerian. Um, I enjoyed his energy. I could tell very early on that he was feeling the vibe and connection with her. Um, and I wrote, like, is he
You
into
wrote
him?
that? You wrote,
Yeah.
hmm.
Hmm. Is she into him or
Ah.
is she gonna be into him because he's really vibing with her? Like
Mm.
at this point, if someone's kind of giving you crumbs and then someone comes in and they're like really engaging and interested,
And
hmm,
he's like, he doesn't date a lot because I think she asked. He was like, I don't really date a lot. You know, I want a soulmate. I'm not just out here to settle. I thought she was feeling him. I think she thought he was like different, and I think she said lovely. And
mm-hmm.
so she was like, "Oh, you're so soft spoken
Oh
and
yes, you couldn't hear
nice."
him.
She was
Mm-hmm.
describing him in positive ways. But I get what you're saying. Like, these are positive descriptors, but that doesn't mean that, like, if someone's nice, they can be nice without me being interested.
Right, right. I think she was interested in exploring more, but I don't know that I got like romantic
Okay.
vibes from her. It was only later where I was like, "Oh, maybe she could be," because he
Hmm.
was like started to really lay it on thick, but we'll get there later.
Okay. All right. So in their next day, he asked her about, the childhood. She talked about how she moved out at 16 and started working. And uh, I'm saying that now and just thinking about future episodes. It's starting to make sense. But he
Mhm.
comes from a pretty solid family, a loving family, it seems. He talks about his connection with his grandmother. I like her at this point, and I liked him. I
Mhm.
said, I hate that she's considering Javen.
Absolutely.
It hurt my heart.
Absolutely.
It hurt
Yeah.
me, girl.
Now, did you feel that way because he was giving her crumbs?
Not because he was giving her, I think I felt that way because of the first impression. It was all downhill for me from there. I was like, okay, you're on my screen to play.
Yeah. And I just in their dates, I was just like, I don't think this guy is actually into her, but she's into
Oh.
him. With
I
Javin, I
With Javen, I don't think he know. I think he's so used to playing the game.
playing it cool.
Yeah,
And she even said that, like, I just feel like you're playing it cool.
that's her type.
A man you don't
It's
know if
not
he likes
funny.
you?
It's
I
not
don't know.
funny.
Okay. Moving on.
So now we're back to Kieran and Megan,
Mhm.
um, and Kieran and Sophie eventually. So let's do Kieran and
Mhm.
Megan first. So at this point, I think he asked her what her biggest insecurity is, right?
Mhm.
And at first she was kind of like, I don't know, maybe my job because people don't think it's a serious job as
Mhm.
a dancer and a fitness instructor. And then he shared his. He said it's like the fear of getting divorced because of the issues with his mom. He says that
Mhm.
he's more needy, which there were several things that he said in this conversation. I was like, okay, you might want to watch that or just be
Mm.
mindful of, because he said he wants his wife to fulfill the things that his mom did not. I don't know if he said that, but
Mm.
that's what I got.
You got, oh,
He
okay.
wants
Okay.
his wife to be the things that his mom was not to their children, which I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing. I just think it sounds like pressure. It sounds like he has in his mind what the ideal mom should look like. And
Mm,
being a mom is already a stressful enough situation for yourself with your own expectations, that if you have someone who has such a tall order of expectations on this particular thing, it could be overwhelming. And so I
mm,
just was like, okay, he might need to talk to somebody about his expectations on his wife because of what his mom did for him. Because he's not saying, I want to be the type of dad that fulfills these things because my mom didn't fulfill them for me. He's now putting that responsibility on his wife.
mm.
Y'all tell me, y'all probably gonna be like, girl, you're thinking way too much into this, but I don't need to think about this. If she's dating him, I think she should be thinking about it. And it's
Yeah,
not a deal breaker, just something to like keep in mind, like ask more questions about.
it could be a slippery slope. It could. It
Because
could be valid and it could be a slippery slope. Yeah.
she heard it as a positive thing though, which may be fine. Like he said, whatever, I want my wife to be this because my mom wasn't. And she saw it as a positive thing because he said he
Mhm.
can't imagine the love that he would have for the mother of his kids. So no,
Yeah.
it's just he seemed more concerned about the role of mother than he did the role of wife or the role of him as a father.
Could be some mother wounds there
There
that need to
are.
be.
He said, yeah. And so it's like, do you want her to fill the role of a mother more than you want her to fill the role as a wife? Like, he
Mm.
just needs to be careful of how he relates to her. Again, definitely thinking way too much into it, but those are just things that I would hear and be like, okay, I might at some point, not in the moment, at some point,
Yeah.
just want to ask more questions about it and understand more and make sure he has the support, whether it's professional or not, like around
Mhm.
that area.
Yeah, I could see that. And I could see why he wouldn't air too much of what those wounds are
Hmm.
on international television, like some people have done, airing out their parents in the past. So,
Ooh, whoa.
yeah.
Well, all right. Dang.
Clay, Clay airing out his daddy.
Was
Yeah,
not
so
expecting that.
I can respect him saying what he said and then say the rest
Yeah.
offline. Yeah.
So then she gets vulnerable. She talks about her dad disappearing and her mom never getting the love that she deserved.
Ah,
I
that's
like
such a
how this,
sweet story. She sees her dad and then like he doesn't say
right,
anything, but then comes back with a note.
a card that didn't even say
Or-
much.
Lord have mercy.
Wow. Yeah. I love how this conversation went from her being like, oh, I don't know, my biggest insecurity is
Mm-hmm.
my job, to him creating a space that felt safe enough for her to be vulnerable. I think like when people are like, "Oh, a man should lead, a man should lead," I think like these are the ways that
Mm,
men should lead. Like, "Oh, I'll be vulnerable first so that you know it's okay to be vulnerable here." So like
right.
he was vulnerable and then she kind of mirrored that and it was just really sweet to watch.
Mm-hmm. I enjoyed it.
So
Um,
yeah.
on their second date.
Oh, sorry. One more thing.
Okay.
So at
Mm-hmm.
the end of this one, she's crying. I put that he asked good questions.
Mm-hmm.
And then he said, you deserve to have high standards, Meg. You deserve to get what you want out of your life. I thought that was really sweet. I said, "Ah, not me being a romantic. That was sweet."
Well, he upped it with this little Japanese ornament in their next date. He said he wanted to put all of his cards on the table. He wants to go on the journey with her, no matter where it takes them. And I wrote at this point, I think it's pretty clear that Megan is his woman.
Yes, agreed. But this is for Meg, even though this was filmed way. Stop talking too much in the lounge. Because right, and her being so vocal is what then led Sophie to open up. And so I'm like, why are you doing that? Now if he goes with Sophie, again, if he goes with Sophie, that's who he was meant to go with and that's fine. But why are you talking about this all giddy in the girls' lounge as if these people aren't also dating him?
I have a theory in that he did it on purpose to not hurt Sophie, but to get her to open up. He knows Megan,
That
and
was
Megan
a
and
theory.
yeah, Megan was because she was already talking about her connection with Kieran
But he didn't
already.
know that. Like, because
He,
he's not in
he
the girls' lounge.
he didn't know, but I think he knew enough about her personality at that point that she was good that it would probably get out. That's my theory. That's my theory. Not that he did it to hurt anybody, but I think he took a gamble and was like, if she says nothing, she says nothing. If she finds out, it's gonna trigger something in Sophie.
I don't know that I agree, but I can see it. Y'all let us know in the comments if you think he was a mastermind.
I mean, I
If you
wouldn't say
think he was behind all
mastermind.
of
I
this.
just
Yeah.
think he knew that it may trigger a few events. I think
He
he
was
could.
willing to take the risk.
He was willing to take the risk.
He did say that later on, like, well, I knew it was a possibility, but I wasn't about to not do that here because
Hmm.
he established it was more important. I don't know. It just to me seems like this was the healthier connection for him. Like I know we're all about the girls here and we want the girls to have healthy connections, but I want the guys to have healthy connections too. I don't want them to be in bad relationships.
Yeah.
And so like she just seemed like a healthier connection for him. And I was hoping he would see that even with Sophie opening up, which
Hmm.
we can move on to them if you don't have anything else to.
Yeah, we can move on to them.
Okay. So let's
Yeah.
talk about their first date. So now we're at Kieran and Sophie.
Yeah. So I think this is the date where he tells her that he likes her, but he wants to go deeper. And correct me if I'm wrong, but her response was, I don't do that.
She, yep, I have it written down here. She says, I don't do that.
And I wrote again, girl, why are you here?
She was so
What
quick.
what
Go
did this is a brand new situation, a brand new partner. It seems have you been hurt in the past? Like I need do you are you have you always been like this? Did something trigger you to be like this? And not that it would make it maybe better, but I just wanted to know what is going on here.
Yeah. Even when he said, okay, well, what do you want to do in life? Like, what are things you want to experience in life? And with me, she said designer bags and traveling. He said, what does success look like for you? She said,
Mhm.
I have it now. I don't know. She was self-sabotaging, and I hope that when she looks
Hmm.
back at this, she sees like he's communicating what he needs from her. He didn't seem to be playing games and dragging along. I think he was
Mm-mm.
very interested in her and was just letting her know, hey, this is what I need too, because we're humans and our needs should be met. Um, yeah, so she was self-sabotaging
Yeah. And he didn't give her a gift, did he?
ever.
Yeah.
But
So,
in their next meeting, that's when she decided to be more vulnerable, and she starts
mhm.
to talk about the relationship with her mom.
Yeah, being strained. Yeah.
Her mom chose her partner over the
Mhm.
mother-daughter relationship, and so that impacted her desire to open up because if the person who gave birth to me doesn't want that relationship with me, why would anybody else? And so it's just easier to put those walls up and prevent rejection than risking it and being rejected and now you're hurt. So
And
I felt for her.
I think on the surface she presents very confident, but I think her having her guard up so high and like running from rejection so much, like that's a part of life. Like you could get rejected from a job, don't make the team, like it would suck to be rejected in love, but how do you ever get to the point of what true love is if you don't even want to take the risk?
And even after she opens up, she reverts to I'm really
Yeah.
cute. I'm really
Yeah.
cute, by the way. And I think at this point, not to read too much into looks and expressions and all that, but at this point, I think he's realizing, okay, there's some real stuff here preventing her from being vulnerable. And I don't know that I can put myself in a situation where I'm struggling to pull things out of her because of her very real and valid wounds.
Later she says, "Oh, I'm melting slowly." And I'm like, "Girl, this is Love is Blind. We don't have you don't have 6 months to thaw out. What is going
You had to
on?"
melt yesterday. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but well, it was episode 3 when we got the reaction to him giving the other lady a gift. So let's move on to another couple and then we'll come back to that. So
Mm-hmm.
we'll do Anu and Patrick, which again, like I said from the jump, don't think this is a good connection, but she's liking it. She's liking the emotional thing.
It, and she says she just loves how deep he is. I don't know. That would just kind of be a lot for me.
Then she said, "I'm more spiritual than him." Like people keep saying, the other girls, I guess, "Oh, he's too
Mm,
spiritual. He's too spiritual." And she's like, "But I'm more spiritual than him." Like he talks about splenic awareness, and for me, it's the Holy Spirit. Like I call that. I think they talked about that
yeah.
in their. He was like, "Yeah, splenic awareness," and she goes like, "For me, that's called the Holy Spirit." Oh no, like
Mhm.
I understand trying to find commonalities because I think at the end of the day we're all humans and we all trying to make it. So
Yeah.
I think finding similarities helps you not to like demonize another person's belief
Hmm.
system. So I think that's a positive, but just because you're wanting to humanize them, that doesn't mean they're a good romantic match for you.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. And especially, I don't know, we hear how big family is for her, and that's where I wrote a note of like, okay, you may be accepting of his different type of spirituality, but what does this mean for including him in your family?
yeah,
So,
this was the second question she asked that made me think she wants someone who aligns more with her Christian values, not just
hmm.
spiritual. But she asked if he'd want to wait to consummate the marriage. He
Hmm.
said no, but if you want to, I'm fine with that. And yeah, I just thought they were very different spiritually. So that was
Yeah,
them.
he kept commenting on how much he loves her growth mindset, and they're both each other's number ones. And I think maybe her level of openness is what's drawing him to her,
Mhm.
but they're not aligned.
At all.
So,
Yeah. And then in this episode, really quickly, we meet Jed and Barda. So this
mhm.
is Jed.
Yeah, 31. I
30.
didn't catch what he did for a living. You?
He was a configuration manager.
Okay.
And then this
And
is
then
Barda.
Barda, 32, marketing director.
Mhm.
Um, I wrote that, at least in this episode, I didn't get much from them.
I didn't get
So
much from them in any episode, but they
I was
like each other, and that's great.
yeah, they like each other, and I guess they sense a connection. I didn't see much together a whole
Yeah.
lot. So.
All right. So now episode 3, let's get to the Kieran and Sophie thing. So now Kieran has given Megan this gift, and Sophie finds out about it because Megan comes in hooting and hollering, sharing with everyone.
Mm,
Yeah, he went to Japan and he got this and he gave it to me and whatever. And so Sophie is big mad. And I
hmm.
get why she's mad, but that doesn't mean that Kieran did anything wrong.
No, and it is a part of the process, and also because she had been so closed up. If you already knew he had another connection, not that you would assume anything, but it can't be that shocking that they would progress since y'all aren't. So, I don't
Yeah.
know. Disrespected was a strong word. Maybe you'd say I felt disappointed that you did it.
What did you think
Disrespect.
about her having a conversation with Megan? Because she pulls her to the side.
Megan was looking at her like, girl, please. Like, I hear you, but girl, please. And that's how I probably would have taken it as well. I, what do we really need to have this conversation for? Because we didn't actually really see them interacting a whole lot in the women's quarters. If anything, we would always see Sophie off kind of by herself doing her thing, looking, and Megan laughing, having a good time. So they weren't even pod friends, in my opinion, at that point for it to justify a conversation.
Mhm. Mhm.
So.
And it felt like she was trying to say, like, oh, well, maybe he's saying the same things to me that he's saying to you. Almost like, oh, well, if I can't have this connection, I'm going to sabotage it for you as
Hmm.
well. And I didn't like that because clearly he's not saying the same things to both of us because, she got the gift and you didn't.
And you're not saying much anyways.
So I
So,
thought the conversation with Megan was unnecessary. I understand her having the conversation with Kieran though. So they pull up to the pods.
and to be messy too,
Yeah,
to
she
plant some
was. I
seeds.
think she was trying to break up their connection.
Hmm. Yeah.
So she pulls up to the pods, and if you saw the North Carolina season of Love is Blind, tell me she wasn't trying to pull a Jessica and Jimmy. She pulled up in there. Yeah, she was cute. She had her glasses on, whatever. But
Hmm.
yeah, I, it was definitely giving Jessica and Jimmy vibes. And she said she felt disrespected.
He said it's a social experiment and I'm gonna give my all and let the chips fall where they may. And I think he's right. Especially since she knows she was showing up in the pods giving him not a whole lot.
I feel bad that it happened after she felt like she did give something. Why you roll your eyes?
Because I felt like he asked her a few times to like
Open up.
give more. On the fourth attempt, that's when you finally it's like, okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
So
I see it. But yeah, I mean, I think she's right to feel how she felt and to vocalize it. I love that she's like, I'm nobody's second choice, which when she watches this back, she'll see that she wasn't.
I didn't get that she was second choice. I think he was trying to see
Where the
which
process would
one would
take her.
progress. Yeah, and it worked out that they got there faster. Uh,
Yeah.
mm,
I wish her the best. I'm glad she's not scared going forward to be vulnerable. I hope that's true. But yeah, Kieran did nothing wrong. He explored his options. He, you know, connected with this young lady. She reciprocated his advances, so it just worked out.
and I will say, he didn't promise Sophie anything. He didn't say, "You're my girl. I've made my decision." He didn't give put on more than what was going on.
Mhm.
So at the end, she said, that through this process, at least in her confessional, she said that she's learned to open up. So yeah, that's
All right. And then afterwards, Kieran and Megan have a conversation just because, I mean, it had happened at that point. Sophie had tried to talk to Megan about it.
Mhm.
So they talked about it, and he said, listen, I knew it was a possibility that you might
Mhm.
go in there and say what you said, but for me, whatever we have going on was more important than whatever fallout would have happened there. I'm okay with how he handled his part. I think he weighed out his options and went with the connection that was healthiest for him.
Mhm.
And I like them so far as a couple.
And yeah, Megan is fine with it. She's happy. They
Yeah.
progress. That's it.
So she wrote him a poem, he proposed, and that was how they ended this episode. She looked great in her individual shots with that lavender
Mhm.
on. I thought she looked,
Mhm.
yeah.
And I think when he proposes, he says, "I love you," and she says, "Yes." So we have another "I love you."
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Okay. So Jed and Barta, I still don't have much for them. For me, they're just a cutesy couple, but they also talk about like family and upbringing. They talk about some deep things. Maybe we don't see them as much on the screen, but
Yeah.
you can tell that he likes her and she likes him. Uh,
Mhm.
it gives off girlfriend boyfriend vibes. So I don't know if this is like they need to make it down the aisle and get married, but I would love to see
Mm.
them dating.
Yeah. Well, at this point, they say they're both enjoying each other. She feels like they're headed in the right direction. I think it was their second date, where they were doing the painting date, and she says she's in love. I said, wow, that escalated quickly. But
She
maybe we're just not seeing, it just feels like from 0 to 100. But I don't want to judge too. critically because we know they can't include everything in some of these, like Anu and Patrick, some of them are gonna fizzle. So it's
But I do think they both like each other. Like he's
oh yeah.
very taken with her.
Yeah.
So I'm okay with that. Uh,
Mhm.
Cal and Sarover, this is where they do their
Mhm.
reveal, and I thought it was
Mhm.
beautiful. They
Yeah.
look good together.
They look good. And his outfit, his traditional dress, absolutely loved it. They
Hmm.
both look really well. Yeah, both smiling as they walk out. They just stand there, look at each other. He says, "Your prince has arrived," gives a peck. He says, "Oh, I love your
You wrote a
dress.
lot.
Yeah, amazing." She says, "You're gorgeous." And he says, "I love you." And she says, "I love you too." Another I love you.
So she had me cracking up after the doors closed, like how excited she was about how good he
Mhm.
looked and all of that. But yeah, moving on. I mean, it was
Yeah.
a beautiful reveal. So Anu and Patrick, I literally wrote here, are they fooling themselves? Because I at this point am not seeing it still. But this was the episode where things start to crumble
Hmm.
because they had a disagreement around being humble. So he asked her to sing, and she doesn't necessarily want to. And she
Hmm.
talks about, I just because I've sung background for Rod Stewart.
I don't remember who she
Okay.
said. Yeah.
But she's like, I don't like to like hype my talent. Like I try to
Hmm.
downplay things. And he immediately says, I don't like that. I don't like it when, people downplay themselves. I don't like the whole being humble thing. He says,
Hmm.
and I get what he's saying. If you are talented, it's okay to say that you're talented. It's okay to stand in your light. You don't have to dim it. But then, of course, I see where she's coming from, where it's like, I just want to be chill. I don't want to be all about my talent.
And it is international television, so I could see her being cognizant of the way she's perceived,
Yeah.
her and her
She's here
talent.
for clout.
Right. She came on there singing. We know
Exactly.
how it goes.
So
So,
I liked it. And so, yeah, I see where both of them were coming from. Then afterwards, it continues to go down.
uh, another disagreement. Yeah.
Yeah, you want to talk about that one?
Yeah, so I think this part he asked, what would you do if your family didn't accept me?
Hmm.
I said, oh boy, here we go. And she says, well, my mom is my best friend and she knows better than me than I do. And I thought, that's interesting. She says, yes, so I'd listen to my mom. And he's like, well, I don't agree. And this is the part that threw me. He's like, that's low vibrational.
And I thought that was kind of harsh to say. Like she just said,
Low vibrational, dang. He's a tough one. He's like, it's low vibrational and people pleasing. And then he goes on to talk about where people pleasing could lead you and all this different thing. I wished he would have just left it at, oh well, I hope that, your parents would accept me, but I'm in a place of, and maybe how he would handle it, but maybe not criticizing her, for her way of thinking in that way. Like I don't know. It felt very critical. Even though
yeah.
I felt like she should have her own mind. Just put that out there. But if that's how she feels, then why does it have to be low vibrational and people pleasing?
Yeah, and so here's the thing. He said that he was once a people pleaser, so I think he was projecting how he used to be on her. So he equated her people pleasing to his. And just because you've acted a certain way before, that doesn't mean that's exactly what she's going to do. So yeah, it felt like projection, but I didn't care because I didn't want them to match anyway.
And that tone feels like, oh yeah, I used to be like
I'm
that.
better.
So you're
Yeah.
better now, or okay. But yeah. Huh.
So I didn't like the projection. I thought it was harsh. I do think, she has to learn to trust her own gut, but I see what she's saying in that, hey, there are people who are around me whose opinion I do trust. And so if they thought something was off, yeah, of course you want to investigate it. But you don't want to be like, oh, if you think it's off, then it's off. Like, you do have to
Yeah.
just have to Be careful.
Yeah. And then I
Uh,
think at this point she says, "Oh, I'm confused." And he says, "My spleen is quiet." I said, "Well, this is a wrap."
well, then, but the next date came up, which was the sushi date, but the vibes were
Hmm.
completely off. And
Oh,
in
so
this one, he
awkward.
said, this has been a lot of clarity. Take care of yourself. He said that at the end.
Hmm.
And he had said that the next step that his spleen, if he's trusting his spleen, the next step would be a proposal. How would you feel about that? She was like, oh, I have sushi in my mouth. It was just so awkward.
Why are y'all still here?
Yeah. So by the next date, she had written him a song. She's practicing it. But when she gets there, I appreciated how he handled. Now Patrick is not like he's not for me. I'm not his vibe, but I respect him and what he has going on, because he didn't allow her to sing. Um, he didn't allow her to sing. He
Hmm.
said, "Listen, I know that I'm ending this, and since I'm ending it, I
That's
don't think
it.
it would be appropriate for you to, do that." So
And I think too, she was already having her doubts, even when he
I
asked her
think he was
about the
trying to push through
proposal.
them.
Yeah, so both of them were trying to push through, and thankfully he put them both out of their misery.
That's how you do it. That's how you
So,
do it.
okay.
Okay, so let's go to Katisha and Damola. Oh my gosh, we're almost at the end of episode 3. I think these
Yeah,
are our last couples. Okay, so Katisha and Damola.
yeah. So
This is the
he
one we
said,
like for her.
yeah, he says he has butterflies. He's really feeling her. He got her flowers, wrote her a poem. He is really putting it all on the table and making, I think, what he wants clear. She wouldn't have to guess if he's into her or anything. Um, and for her, she says, it's a curious connection for her. And I wrote, what does that mean?
Even when he asked her, "How do you feel about us?" which I liked that he asked her,
Yeah.
but she said, "Oh, he's kind and he's genuine." Why are you struggling with this? That's what I kept on asking myself. Like, why is she struggling with this? But then later on, she said to Barda, like, "Oh, it almost makes me feel like, why are you so set on me? Like, what about me makes you so set on me?" And Barda was really sweet. She said, "You're amazing. Why wouldn't they be like? Why wouldn't this person be set on you?"
And she describes him, she says, oh, he's like a little boy at Christmas. And she's struggling with this level of admiration. And so,
She's never known, I don't know. Okay, so it doesn't seem like she's known love, and
mm-mm.
so, or admiration or care or these things in romantic relationships, and so now that it's here, it feels different. And what feels comfortable is maybe what other people is emotional unavailability. That's what feels comfortable for her. And so I felt for her, but I'm like, girl, I know you feel like odd being put first, but you got to dive in. That's
so,
what you
so
want.
at this point, when she to me couldn't vocalize being sure of him, because at this point they're vibing, they have a lot in common, but she can't vocalize like, hey, I'm ready to move forward.
Correct.
I felt at this point she probably, if she wasn't sure of either one, should have ended both connections at
I
this
can
point,
see that.
because she was already like, for both. Well, it could be a no for both, and that's
Hmm.
fine.
Hmm.
And so I didn't appreciate how she continued on to the next date, kind of already knowing she was in that headspace. Yeah.
Interesting. Okay. Yeah, so
Yeah.
in the next day, I think I liked his confidence in himself. Like at this point, he knows Javen is the other person. And he's like,
Hmm.
I'm not gonna because Javen was trying to be very loud about, oh
Messy.
yeah, she's into
Hmm.
me, because he knew Damola was her other connection. But yeah, I like that. He's like, I'm not gonna worry about what somebody else has going on. I'm just gonna proceed how I need to proceed. I said, Katisha, you better not break this man's heart.
You know this man is sure of you, and you know that you're not sure of him.
Yeah.
And at this point, I didn't think that it was just the, oh, he's giving me all the admiration and attention. I
Hmm.
just don't think she was into him in that romantic way,
Okay.
but didn't voice it. I think she was continuing to go on these dates because a part of her was enjoying the attention she was getting from him.
Okay.
So,
Yeah. Yeah, that's true.
mhm.
Sometimes people want the attention you're giving them, but they don't really want you.
And
Huh.
on
But at the
the
end, it seemed like she had decided. She says, "Well, why can't I be with a man that's crazy about me?" So I was like, "Yes, girl, and I really trying
mhm.
to be okay. This is it." Then let's talk about her with Javen. So at this point, she understands Damola is fully in, and she uses that to try to seek assurance from Javen. But he's just kind of like,
Okay, do
"Well,
you,
what be
boo?
will be." Yeah. He
Was it before that where she tells Demola that she wasn't gonna that she was for sure
no.
he was the one? Okay, so not yet. Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So this was when, yeah, she was looking for assurance from Javen, which I said, why are you looking for assurance where it is not? Like you have assurance you have assurance in abundance over here, but you don't want that. You want it over here. So he's immature, he's messy. He he mentions that, oh yeah, her other person is like love bombing her, which that's not what was going on.
And even in the date with her, he's like, "Oh, I'm not the grand gesture type." Y'all are in the pods. None of this is grand gestures, in my
Mm,
opinion. It's just
mm,
little tokens of affection.
yeah.
And in that moment, he never said, "Well, how do you want to be shown affection? Is
Mhm,
that your thing?" He don't care. We can clearly tell at that point. And I
mhm.
said, "He better not pick him. She'll be chasing him."
Yeah. And I think like this is the point where, so like after this date that she has with
Yeah.
Javan, that's when she tells Damola, you know what, I'm locked in on you because you've given me the assurances, you're kind, you're genuine. And he's like, okay, well, is it gonna change after your next date? And she's like, no, I'm
No,
locked in
I'm locked
here.
in.
It's not gonna change after my next date. She goes on the next date with Javan. And I already knew it was going south when she was over explaining herself. You've come in, you've said what you needed to say, get out. She starts over
Hmm.
explaining. And then she's like, well, you can leave now. You don't have to stay. And he said, well, I'm going to sit and enjoy my drink. You can leave if you want to. And she goes, well, I'll just sit and enjoy my drink.
And he didn't
Girl,
even try to change her mind. That was another thing. He was just like, "Well, we could just sit here. I'm cool. I'm Gucci." Oh, it's hard to
you know
watch.
what that lady who fell in love with her psychiatrist would say? She would be like, "Oh yeah, he knew because he knew that if he was quiet, then I would fill the space, and he knew, he was crossing the boundaries without crossing the boundaries." Yeah, I don't know if y'all are on TikTok, but look into that
Mm,
story. Either way, after this, I said Damola should move on. She's playing with him,
mhm,
and he's a very valuable person, and he needs to go where he's appreciated. This girl isn't it. She's shown a lot of maturity herself, a lot of immaturity herself.
mhm,
Like, if you're gonna make a decision, make the decision and go forward with it. But she
mhm,
might be mature in a lot of other areas, but not this one. And so he needs to move on. And
mhm.
so Javen leaves the date and he's like, well, at this point, because of what she's done, she's gonna have to propose to me. And now we go into episode 4. Let's
The
start with them
audacity.
so that we can just wrap it up because they're the
Um,
anyway for this first part.
was it the in episode 3 where he gets her the flowers?
Yeah.
Okay. And
Mhm.
I was just like, even that was just kind of like, nah, nothing thoughtful.
Miosha. Anyway, so in episode 4, episode 4, she breaks things off. She changes her mind. She breaks things off with Damola instead. And I said, you want better for these people, but they got to get out of their own way. I'm
Mm,
glad he was respectful and kind about it. He said, she's a great girl. And he said it to her, like, you deserve to be treated well. He was a gracious man. when Javen comes in, he's like stumbling over his words, which she thought was cute, but he came in and didn't even expect to be proposing to her.
He said, I thought I was going home. I didn't feel the need to write a grand proposal or plan anything. That was an excuse. You weren't even going to try just in case she did change her mind.
I wouldn't.
Um, Also, at this point, I wrote Katisha could have told Demola this a while ago. She said like, "Oh, the romantic connection just wasn't there." That was her reasoning, but you already knew that. So that was my issue. It wasn't that she broke things off with him. It's that you committed to him, went and got some flowers, and then came back. You did this. You did the exact same thing he asked if you would do.
For
My
the
lord.
bare minimum. Well, yeah, for the bare minimum. Like you have someone who's giving you everything and you want to be begging for it from someone else. And so something that I don't know, the editing was weird here, but did she say
Hmm.
something about, yeah, like at this point I would be willing to go down? Was that
Yes,
about
she
proposing
did.
to him or
Yeah,
was
okay.
that editing?
It got choppy. It got choppy. Yeah, so I think he was like, oh well, basically trying to see what he said, oh well, I'll propose if I knew you would be willing to ask me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is this where we are?
Yeah. And so I don't know. I felt like Tisha, you just have to do better. But we'll see how it pans out. Either way, he proposes to her, and then he says, I didn't expect this. I just did it on the whim. Being somebody's husband scares me.
Because
Okay,
you didn't come here to find a wife.
right. And then they had their reveal. Do you want to talk about that?
Yeah, okay, so when she first walked out, or before she walked out, she was like, "Oh, I hope that he's tall." I could never tell how tall he was, but I was like, oh, "Okay, let's
He
see how
was
this
like her height.
goes." Yeah, so they are the same height. They walk in, a lot of nervous energy. For a while, I don't hear compliments from either one of them, like, "Oh, you look so beautiful" or "stunning" or anything. I wrote that he kept looking down and that this was a lot of awkward energy.
It
I
was.
did not enjoy this reveal at all.
Yeah, lots of giggles, not much conversation going on. Okay.
Eventually, I think she said, "You smell good." And
Yeah.
he said, "You do too." I
Yeah.
said, "Wow."
Okay,
Yeah.
so in the end, like Jed and Barta, they do the proposal.
Hmm.
They link up. They seem to like each other. It looked like it worked. And then also Kieran and Meg, they had a beautiful reveal. They liked how each other looked. I loved her dress. I like her outfits.
Oh yeah. Yeah, she looked really, really good. I enjoyed Kieran and Meg's reveal. The
Hmm.
sparks are definitely there for them.
Hmm.
Jed and Barta, he got handsy very quick. Picking her up in the way that he did. She
Yeah.
didn't mind it, so it's none of my business.
Okay, listen. After not seeing somebody and talking through a wall, maybe you need something to jumpstart the physical chemistry. I don't know. But yeah, so that's what
Yeah,
happened. And then they went to Cyprus.
Cypress. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so at the honeymoon, everybody seems pretty into each other. Like the only comment that I have to make is like actually on two couples. One was
Mm-hmm.
Katisha and Javen.
Mm-hmm.
So I said, girl, stop being intrigued by unavailable men. He said something like, I feel like she's my girlfriend. And I'm like, I think that's because that's the level of relationship you're ready for.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe not even.
Yeah.
But
It and he also says too, like, oh, I don't feel like he could just say he loves her, but
mm,
he claims he feels like the seeds are there. She says she feels really comfortable with him.
mm,
I'm not buying that he's into her.
yeah. And they obviously got physical. Like they slept with one another. Um, so yeah, that's what happened with them. And then
Yeah.
with Sarver and Cal, so she's into him
Mm-hmm.
physically, and I say UK friends really don't. I mean, UK people don't play about their friends because remember, Jasmine was not playing about Demi last season, and
Mm-hmm.
Sarover is not playing about how Katisha did Damola. He said, "No, that's who I want
I'm
to
a
meet because I
I'm
don't
a
like how you
follow
did
up.
my boy dirty." So I thought that
Mhm.
was really funny. But here is where we find out that Sarover isn't Cal's usual type.
And here's where I wish less is more. I don't know. She goes on and on about how he's her typical type and oh, pretty boy, gym boy, he's attractive. And he's just like, yeah, you're not my usual type. I usually go for British girls, light hair or blonde hair, light eyes. But it obviously didn't work. And here's where I want people to choose their words more wisely. If this could potentially be your lifelong partner, less is more. Hey, yeah, my previous type don't even matter because I think you're beautiful.
Yeah, I don't even know. Honestly, if she hadn't brought it up, I don't think he would have. But she did bring it up.
And she brought it up again.
Sorry?
And she brought it up again.
Mm-hmm.
And
Mm-hmm.
I wish she would stop bringing it up.
Well, now the seed has been planted because this is his first time dating in India. And that's what, like, that for
Mhm.
me, I don't want to be anybody's first time dating anything ever.
I guess it's her first time dating a half Pakistani British man too, but I think because he looks that like he could be of her background, it's not as drastic of a difference. So,
Yeah, absolutely. And so,
hmm.
yeah, I just worry about that. And I understand the insecurity. You can see her wheels turning already. She's like, oh, there are two blonde haired girls. I don't know if they have blue eyes, but they're more his type. So
Hmm.
she's already coming in with this type of
Hmm.
perspective. And so then we have the group meetup.
And I will say in that group meetup, there was something that she said that made me to think that he may have had a connection with Barta in the pods. Because she specifically called out Barta and maybe Megan.
No, it wasn't Megan. It
It
was
wasn't
Ashley.
Ashley, and that maybe there was that he did have a connection or was dating them for consistently, maybe for a period of time.
Oh, I don't
So
remember that.
yeah,
But
because cause Cal says, yeah, Barta would have typically been his type before. So I'm like, why her specifically? Like, why call her name specifically? I don't
well,
know.
maybe he thought she was cuter than, I mean, obviously the producers asked him about it because of, it was his one-on-one
Hmm.
interview. But I mean, they do, even though they're both blonde, they do look very different from each
They
other.
do. Yeah.
So, like he
They
said, Barter
do.
maybe would have been who he had gone for before. But the notable things to me that came out of this, I'll start. One of them was that the girls were talking about how their men said they loved them. So it was Ashley, Barta, and
Hmm.
Katisha. And so Ashley is saying, "Oh yeah, my man said he loved me, whatever, whatever." Barta, yeah, he said he loved me, whatever. And Katisha is like, "Yeah, I haven't said it. I could say it at any point, but I haven't because I just want to be ready for that." Which
Hmm.
I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing. For her, it
Mm-mm.
is, but I don't think
In
in
general, it
general
wouldn't
it's a
be.
bad
Yeah.
thing. Well, as soon as she leaves, here goes Ashley. I think some couples are gonna take a little longer than others. Like, and I think Katisha's one of those. I like how Barta met her. Like, she wasn't mean to her, but she wasn't
Hmm.
feeding into the gossip. I
Yeah.
appreciate somebody like that.
Yeah, and the couples sometimes that are super cocky from the beginning, that doesn't mean that you
Yeah,
last.
you
So,
might not even make it to the aisle.
but I will say maybe they sense the type of energy that Javen is on. So
And
they're
they've
like,
all spoken to, like, they're not unfamiliar with them. They've all had a date with
mm-hmm,
them. They know other people who were talking to them. They know the character or, what type of person maybe Damola was.
mm-hmm.
It's not
They
a
know.
secret. So,
Yeah.
yeah, so they gossiped. And then I think the other thing was
Cal sitting with
Cal and
Katisha.
Katisha's chat,
Mm-hmm.
which
Wanted to hear her side of things.
yeah, which wasn't giving much. But he was like, it's just weird that Damola thought it would be him and Javin, Javen
Hmm.
thought it definitely wasn't him, but
Hmm.
then it switched. So I can see where Cal's coming from, where it's like, okay, you weren't clear. Like you were leading one on and maybe not,
Hmm.
as
Oh,
clear.
this is just lead it on. She said it flat out. You're my pick.
Hmm.
It won't change.
Hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah.
So I don't know. Is there anything else that you have about any of these couples?
No, other than I'm excited for next week's episodes, and it's nice to be at episode 4 and already be at the honeymoon.
And it's nice to be excited for the next group of episodes. Like when they showed the preview, I was already trying to put things together,
Hmm.
and I haven't felt this. Well, I guess we haven't done any shows in a few months. Map
Yeah,
Chicago was exciting, but not
it
in this
was.
way. So, so
Mm,
it was entertaining. But this
yeah.
is like there are promising couples. There are couples that we're rooting for not to work. So,
Hmm.
but let us know what your thoughts are about this season, what
Hmm.
your thoughts about the couples are, where you disagree, where you agree. We usually have that in the comments and people say
Hmm.
so I'm looking forward to see what y'all have to say about this season. If you haven't
Yeah.
liked, make sure you like. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and do so. And we will see you guys next week. Bye.
Bye.